Hey, people on YouTube. I'm live on my YouTube channel. About to go live on, I want to go live on Instagram, but I'm blocked. So I will be recording this video on a different camera and reposting it to my Instagram. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you follow me on Instagram. Just going to wait for some people to come on. I'm going to get started in a moment. In case you're unfamiliar with me, my name is Makeda Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist. Actually, let me start my other camera. I didn't start my camera for Instagram yet. Okay. Welcome, people. It's Makeda Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist, and I'm live on my YouTube channel and recording on a different camera for Instagram. So be sure to follow me in both places. I can't post on Instagram right now because I have a block. I'm always getting blocked. But I'm reporting live from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And in case you're unfamiliar with me, I have a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition science, okay? And that's what my bachelor's degree and my first graduate program was in. And I am currently completing a Master of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics, okay, at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. And I've studied all the ways to take our body to its highest level. That's what I've committed my life to. So it goes to what we put on our skin, the food that we eat, okay, the water that we're drinking, the soaps that we're using, the air that we're breathing, okay, the technology we're being exposed to, all of those things, sexuality, sexual health. I'm also a doula, so all these things that are involved with optimal performance of the body. And I travel a lot as well. So everywhere I travel, I'm also concerned with and paying attention to access to a healthy, active lifestyle. I'm a native New Yorker who currently lives in Chicago, and I love a walkable city. You know, being from Manhattan, it's a place where you didn't need a car. Okay, so to a lot of Americans, taking a walk someplace is like a workout. People think because they walked a few blocks, it was a big deal, you know. And that's the case for a lot of people in suburban America who have their cars parked right in front of their house, and they're driving from one strip mall to the next, and they're going to a drive-through pharmacy, a drive-through ATM, drive-through food. You barely are walking. And in New York, even if you have a car, okay, you don't always park exactly where you're going, and you're going to have to walk more. A lot of New Yorkers live in buildings where you have to walk upstairs. And even just taking a New York City subway, you're walking up and down several flights of stairs. So physical activity is ingrained in your life. And you don't see a lot of obese people in New York City. You also don't see a lot of obese people in D.C. Okay, D.C. is a very walkable city. D.C. has decent public transportation. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it's here. And depending on where you live in the area, you may be able to do your daily things without having a car or being in a car all the time. So the DC area, you know, for those of you who don't know, there's something called the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So you have like Arlington and Alexandria, Virginia, and Silver Spring, and PG County, and the areas that surround Maryland, the areas that surround parts of Maryland and Virginia that surround DC. And so it's very walkable. When it comes to gyms, there's a decent amount of gyms. I have a membership to LA Fitness and Export. I have a membership to LA Fitness because LA Fitness is in most of the cities that I go to in America. There's a few of them in New York. There's a lot in New Jersey. They're in Philly. They're all over Chicago. maybe a few in the Detroit area, LA, Atlanta, Miami, Houston. So LA Fitness is a lot of cities that I travel to, so that's why I have that membership. I also have a membership to Export, which is a chain out of Chicago that's also has a few in the DMV and a few in New York City. It's a 24-hour gym. There's no LA Fitnesses in DC anymore. For some reason, they all closed. So now all the LA Fitnesses are in Maryland and Virginia, but not the actual city of DC. Um, right now, I'm smoking some cannabis that I got from one of my favorite dispensaries. Okay, it's a dispensary in DC called Tacoma Wellness. Um, Tacoma Health and Wellness. Okay, it's in Tacoma Park, DC, which is also there's Tacoma Park, DC, and Tacoma Park, Maryland. Tacoma Park. It's one of my favorite areas in the DC area. It's a tree-lined street. I love streets with lots of trees and stuff like that. So that area has a lot of tree-lined streets. But the thing, DC has medical cannabis. Okay, I thought they were recreational as well, but it seems that DC is just medical cannabis, and Virginia is just medical cannabis. Um, Maryland is recreational and medical. Okay. And so last time I was in DC, I didn't have a medical cannabis card. I do now from Illinois. And DC does take cannabis cards. They take medical cards from most other states. You can call and find out what states they take. But when I listened to the list, it seemed like it was every state. They definitely took Illinois. Um, the last time I was here, that was in the fall. I didn't have a medical cannabis card. And so with DC, if you're visiting, they let you get temporary medical cannabis card. Okay. So you could be from out of state, you could be visiting for the weekend, a couple of weeks. You can get a medical card in DC. And another cool thing about DC, I mean, you can get it right there on the spot. Another cool thing about DC, and it's not that expensive, because other states you have to pay to first meet with a doctor. A lot of times it's telehealth for them um, hear about whatever your ailment is and clear you. Okay, because every state has a list of qualifying conditions. Qualifying conditions are the conditions in which they're allowed to clear you or certify you for medical cannabis. Okay. And so every state you have to first meet with a doctor and you have to pay a fee depending on where you do it and when you do it. That fee could be $100, it could be 75, it could be 125. I've seen the price range from 75 to 150 just for that meeting. And then after that, I know in Illinois, it may be different in other states, but after that meeting, I then had to like pay a fee to the state and register something else. So it was like another fee I had to pay. Um, but in DC, you don't have to have a meeting with the doctor. It's the one state, well, DC is not really a state, but the one state that you don't need to meet with a doctor. You don't need to be certified by a doctor. You can self-certify yourself, which is really cool. You can just say, I need cannabis for medicinally, and I'm saying that I'm using it for that, and you can self-certify yourself, which is really good. Um, and you can get like a card that's like 3 days or whatever, and I don't know the prices, but I know Tacoma Health and Wellness, they have prices on their website, and I'll put that um, the link to that dispensary below. But it's very affordable and it's cheaper than going through the whole process that we go through. So yeah, DC does allow you to self-certify. So I did that last time. But this time I had my card from Illinois. However, when I was in Arlington, which is right next to DC, Arlington, Virginia, um, they are only medical cannabis. I know that Virginia has actual pharmacists that work in all of their dispensaries. That's like a requirement. I know Connecticut does that and Virginia does that. I'm not sure if other states do that. But Virginia, you only accepts cards from Virginia. Now, I haven't seen this with any other states, like Pennsylvania and other states who are only medical. They accept cards from most of the other states. Virginia says they only accept it from Virginia, which I think is really weird, especially since Virginia is right next to Maryland and DC, and I'm sure it borders other states. I think maybe North Carolina. I don't know, but North Carolina has recreational weed, but Maryland has medical, and DC. No, Maryland has medical and recreational, and DC has medical. And being that Virginia is right next to it, I'm just surprised that I don't know. But Virginia only takes Virginia medical cards, okay, which is whack. But luckily, if you're in Arlington, you can easily just go to DC, okay, or go to Maryland. If you're deeper in Virginia, somewhere else, that's a different story, okay. Um, and this strain right here is one that I got by yeah, Tacoma Wellness Center. This brand is called Sunflower, okay, and this strain is sunflower green pinene, which means it's high in a terpene called pinene. Pinene is the terpene that's in pine. So when you smell um, pine trees, that whole pine smell, that's pinene. That terpene is good for opening up your lungs. It's a bronchodilator. So it's actually good for breathing. So people who have breathing issues or breathing problems, smoking strains as high in pinene can actually help with your asthma, help open up your lungs, help with breathing issues. Okay. It's also one, it is also one that is good for when you need to focus and maybe you need to do some schoolwork or you need to do some intense working. It's good to smoke before a workout. Okay, this is a good one to smoke before a workout because when you're working out, even when you're lifting weights, you're breathing deep, deep inhales, and really letting it out, especially when you're lifting heavy. So whether you're lifting heavy, whether you're going to a dance class, whether you're going about your bike, all of those things, okay, require deep breathing and strong breaths. So smoking something that's high in pinene can be good before a workout, could be good after a workout. Um, it can be good before a dance class. It can be good before you write something. It can be good if you have breathing issues and you need bronchodilators, okay, asthma, stuff like that, okay. Um, and despite what people think, smoking cannabis is not does not cause breathing problems. When you see Michael Phelps got more gold medals than any other Olympian, okay, in the history of the Olympics. Swimmers have the greatest lung capacity out of any other athletes out of any sport. Swimmers, okay? And Michael Phelps is the most decorated. And he was smoking out of a bong, which I don't even like. That's so much smoke. So obviously that wasn't affecting his breathing. Every singer, I know some amazing singers, some known singers that you guys know of who can really sing, who I have smoked with. They smoke cannabis. Okay. So it's not true that it messes with your breathing and all of that. Sometimes you could say it depends on what somebody's smoking. I'm talking about cannabis, okay, not tobacco. Even though this is rolled in a tobacco leaf, a little bit of tobacco is okay, but people who are smoking cigarettes all the time, that has shown to be more detrimental to lung capacity, okay? And it also could be the tobacco that is already chemically treated. You ask if this is a clone or a pure strand? I don't know. I'm assuming it's a clone. I think that most stuff are clones nowadays, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure. I can maybe look it up. This brand. Um, so the DMV area access to medical cannabis is not difficult, and that's good. And that's a good thing. When I think about traveling out of the country, like there's so many countries where it's not legal, and it's not legal in America. Okay, it's just legal in certain states. But because I don't use pharmaceuticals, I'm very anti-pharmaceutical. Okay, I use cannabis for a lot of things: migraines, menstrual discomfort. Um, if I get bites, burns, antibacterial, anti-infection, um, a lot of different things. Okay, and you go to another country, and like you have countries like South Africa, medical cannabis is legal, but it's not legal to sell it. It's not legal to buy it, sell it, um, or smoke it in public or consume it in public. So that means you have to basically know somebody who grows cannabis that's going to give it to you for free in order to not break the law. Okay. So if you're traveling there, it's not easy and using it medicinally. And then, sometimes people don't want the flower. You might want an oil or some other kind of edible product. And so when there's dispensaries around, okay, and you're using it medically, you have the option to get an edible or a topical or flower, okay, because you use it different depending on what you're using it for. So this is one of the things that's just good about the United States, period, is that a lot of states, having legalizing it, whether it be recreationally or medically, is giving more access to that in that way. Okay. Um, and that's one thing the US is doing good with right now. Okay. 10 years ago, I never would have thought that we would have. 10 years ago, I remember being in LA, the Bay, Seattle, and the West Coast was so unique and like amazing because there was like dispensaries, and I didn't have a medical card, so I couldn't go in them, but my friends could, and I could tell them what kind of feeling I wanted, and they could go in there and come back with Blue Dream and different strains. Whereas in the East Coast, it was kind of like you got whatever the weed man gave you, and maybe some people had a weed man who had strains, and maybe some people knew some things, but it wasn't like that. And so now to see dispensaries everywhere, where you can actually, if you're traveling to New York or Chicago or Colorado, you don't have to be looking for a weed man. You can go to a dispensary. They're everywhere, right? Um, and for the DMV area to be such a small area, there's actually a good amount of dispensaries. Okay. Um, um, there's a good amount of pole studios in the DMV area as well. I haven't been into pole dancing as much as I used to be, but when I used to be going hard, I used to take pole class in DC a lot. There's a good amount of pole studios, which is kind of surprising for a city that acts so conservative. Everybody here works for the government. They all try to have this perfect little cookie cutter um, personality, kind of um, energy about them. But there's a lot of pole studios here, so that's one thing when it comes to fitness. When it comes to dance classes, not so much, but that's true of most cities. Most cities are not like New York. New York and the Bay Area have a plethora of dance classes. Um, when it comes to access to raw dairy, DC is like probably one of the DMV area is probably one of the hardest places that I've been to, where I've like DC has been a second home. The DMV has been a second home for me for many, many years, over a decade, and I've never been able to find raw milk here. Now, I do know that Sally Fallon has a farm in Maryland, that's maybe like an hour away. I've never gone to it. I would like to, but I think you have to make an appointment or something. And then I've heard some people tell me that they were getting it in Virginia recently outside of DC, but I don't know for sure. So if you're in the DMV area and you have a raw milk source or you've been able to find it in the DMV area, please tell me where. But um, somebody said, I've experienced cannabis that helped and not helped. I think clones are not as healthy as a fully developed male female strain. What are your thoughts, preferences, sativa or indica? Almond milk is not amazing. Almond milk is poison. Almond milk is poison. And sativa or indica, it depends on what I want to do. If I want to work out and I want to do schoolwork and focus, I want like sativas that are high in limonene, pinene. Um, if I am winding down for the day, I want to go to sleep, I like an indica. If I want to chill out but I don't want to go to sleep, a good hybrid is good. Okay. Um, but yeah, and so even though the raw dairy here, I remember years ago getting raw dairy from a man who was my Facebook friend, and he was a part of some underground buying club, and he had to He was nice enough to get some raw milk for me and give it to me when I came to DC, but I had to like meet him in a parking lot. We did this whole exchange, so ridiculous. And to become a part of this buying club, somebody in it had to invite you in, and it was like so dramatic. And over the years, just like with cannabis, raw milk has become more accessible. I've been drinking raw milk since uh, almost 20 years. And I remember it was a lot harder to get a lot of places, but it's becoming more accessible in different parts of the country, just like cannabis. Okay. Cannabis has come farther though. Um, but I will go out of my way for my medicine, which is good food. That includes good quality dairy, good quality butter, good quality yogurts, good quality ice cream. The DC area does not have any good ice cream places. I mean, when I say good ice cream places, I mean ice cream places that aren't adding additives. Okay, additives like guar gum and carrageenan and xanthan gum and diglycerides and tapioca starch and tapioca syrup, artificial colors. Okay, or they're using non-fat milk powder. Okay, all of those ice creams are bad for you, and most people are putting that in their ice cream. It's hard to find quality ice cream places, and DC has places that advertises artisanal ice cream or homemade. Okay, if people don't specifically say that they don't use any of those things, that they don't specifically tell you what's in it, you should ask for a list of ingredients. And 9.5 times out of 10, when you see it, there's going to be one of those things that I mentioned. Okay. So you don't want any of that in the ice cream. Ice cream is supposed to be cream, whole milk, eggs, egg yolks, sugar, salt, strawberries. Okay. Whatever flavor they're going to put. Not all that other crap. Okay. What kind of search do you have to do to find raw milk in Memphis? Go to realmilk.com and put in Memphis. And there's two websites. Hold on a minute. Oh, I can't. It's realmilk.com. And I'll write the other one on this video. Hold on. Every state has different laws. I did a video about it. I'll post the raw milk videos I did about access. I'll post them below. But hold on. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, I don't know where the video went that I was just on. Darn it. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So it's one is realmilk.com and the other one, hold on, there's another site because these two sites don't have the same things on them. Oh, we can get rawmilk.com. So realmilk.com, I'm writing below. Realmilk.com and then get rawmilk.com. Look on those two sites. They don't have the same farms on them. And see if you can find anything in Memphis. I don't know about Memphis because I've never looked in Memphis. So let me know what you find. So your assignment is to look on those sites. Also Google it. You can just Google raw milk in Memphis, but then look on those sites. And if you find something in Memphis, please report back and write a comment on the video and let me know. Okay. And what are the medical cannabis laws in Tennessee? Does Tennessee have medical cannabis? I actually want to come to Memphis and Nashville. I want to visit Tennessee. I was in Tennessee once. I went through Memphis and I went through Nashville once many years ago, like 12 years ago, and on a bus. And I just remember it being very green and pretty, and I always wanted to come back. Especially remember seeing that about Nashville. But I want to check out the food and all of that. But hold on a second. So so yeah. So yeah, those are the things about DC. When I'm looking at a healthy, active lifestyle, I'm looking at like physical activity, access to gyms, and just like an active life, which is more than just going to the gym. Is it walkable? Um, DC is the DMV area is hilly, especially in parts of DC and Maryland. Um, I haven't seen too many hills in the Virginia part of the DMV. And again, if you're from the area and I'm saying anything wrong, please let me know because that's how we learn. But Maryland and DC has some hilly areas, so walking up hills. It's a very bike friendly area. Okay, I'm not a bike rider, but if you're a bike rider, it's a very bike friendly city to me area. So to me, it's easy and to be kind of active. There is good food here. It's just the dairy, the ice cream, and the like. Even in Whole Foods, like they don't sell raw milk in Whole Foods in any city, but in New York or Chicago, places like that, you can get low temperature pasteurization, like a very light pasteurized and unhomogenized in Whole Foods. Here, I don't see that. Now I want to go to Mom's because there's a Mom's here. I want to go there, but when I go to Whole Foods, they don't have that. They just have like ultra pasteurized. It might be grass fed, but it's ultra pasteurized, homogenized milk. They don't have the low temperature, lightly pasteurized, unhomogenized milk, which is not raw, but it's as close to it as you can get. Um, so to me, the DMV has never been a great area for dairy because I'm definitely a dairy person. I love good ice cream, especially when I'm working out a lot. I want more of it, but it has to be quality. Um, I'm trying to think. And like most cities, this is also very much unlike New York, but like most cities, if you want to get coconut water and stuff, you're gonna have to go to Whole Foods or Costco's and get it. Like it's not like there's delis everywhere selling it, but that's true of most cities. And yeah, I think so the access to medical cannabis is great. There's some knowledgeable people here when it comes to that. Um, for the most part, you have access to good food. The dairy is lacking. Somebody tell me about raw milk if you know something about raw milk in the DMV. Um, the gyms, I think DC itself is not the greatest for gyms. There are some, but a lot of them are like expensive, like small local gyms. But the LA fitness chains and stuff, which a lot of people have memberships to, that's more Virginia and Maryland. But you might have to drive 20 minutes to the gym. It seems like every time I'm here, no matter where I'm at, the gym is like 20 minutes away. But it's decent when it comes to access to gyms and stuff. A lot of pole studios. You don't see a lot of obese people here. There's a lot of good food here, period. Okay, there's a lot of good food here. And I think I've said what I need to say. Oh, one thing about the DMV. This is DC, Maryland, and Virginia. They have a lot of building of like these new modern buildings where it's like a whole community where it's like, oh, we have a gym in the building and a pool in the building and a meeting room in the building, and they have all this stuff in the building. There's a lot of that here. It's too much of that, actually. Houston is another place that's like that, but it's too much of that, and I'm not a fan of those kind of buildings because to me, I feel it's too much like a hotel. I feel too enclosed, and it's like the air doesn't feel fresh. And a lot of them have like air freshener. A lot of buildings like that, they have like a constant air freshener that's going off in the building or going off in the elevator. And that stuff makes me sick. It's not healthy. So I wouldn't want to live in a building that's constantly is omitting artificial air freshener into the hallways, into the elevator. Like that would drive me crazy. Okay. That's not healthy. And as much as it's important about what we eat, what we put in our skin, the air we breathe is really important too, because just like we all have to eat, we all have to breathe. Like we literally all have to breathe all day. Whether you're awake or you're asleep, you're breathing. That's the one constant. Okay. And you can absorb drugs through your nose and toxins through your nose. That's how people snort cocaine. Okay. So breathing toxic air is not good. That can go right into your bloodstream. Okay. So there's that. So they get a thumbs down for all of that. Okay, there's too much of that here. Hey, Baltimore. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if Baltimore is considered the DMV because I never thought it was considered the DMV. But Baltimore, I can't speak on a whole lot because I've spent time in Baltimore, but not as much time as I spent in DC. I do know Baltimore has good food, but yeah. So if anybody in the area knows about the raw milk connects, have you found raw milk in the DMV? If so, please share where, um, or any other 2 cents you want to add. Okay, it's a great city for riding bikes. It has hills, which is good for if you're riding a bike or walking. If you start walking up some hills, you're walking in a hilly area or riding your bike in a hilly area, that's always a plus because there's a difference between going up hills and just being on flat land. You can walk 30 blocks on flat land and be talking the whole time. You can't do that when you're walking up a hill. So that's another thing. So I will leave it with that. If anybody has anything they want to share, please add your 2 cents on the video. And I'll add some links to my raw milk videos and some other stuff below. And I will see you guys later. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at _body_scientist. And make sure you follow me on YouTube at the Body Scientist 81. And I will see you guys later. Bye.